Hey everyone, welcome to class. I am just so incredibly excited to have you all here today. For today's explainer, I really want you to try and look at human development in a completely different way. Think about it like you're leveling up in your absolute favorite video game. Every single age bracket you enter is essentially a brand new level. And just like in a game, every level comes with its own very specific quests that you have to complete to move forward successfully. So today, we are going to look at the entire map of human life, going all the way from the tutorial levels of being a baby right up to the end game. But before we actually hit start, let me throw this question from our text right at you. What happens when the expected developmental tasks are not achieved at the corresponding developmental stage? Seriously, think about that for a second. What actually happens if you just completely miss a major life milestone? Or, fail a level's main quest? Does the game just let you slide? Or does the next level suddenly become incredibly difficult to beat? Okay, let's just dive right into it. Here is our quick roadmap for today. 1. What are developmental tasks? 2. The early childhood levels. 3. Middle childhood and school. 4. Adolescence. 5. Early and middle adulthood. And 6. Late adulthood and beyond. All right, kicking things off with Section 1. What are developmental tasks? Defining the rules of the game. Before we can really start analyzing the different stages of life, we absolutely need to understand the basic rules. To give us these rules, we're looking at the work of theorist Robert Heavyhurst. Way back in 1972, he defined a developmental task as one that, quote, arises at a certain period in our life, the successful achievement of which leads to happiness and success with later tasks, while failure leads to unhappiness, social disapproval, and difficulty with later tasks, end quote. So what does that mean in simple terms? Well, basically, if you complete your current stage's tasks, you unlock happiness and make your future a whole lot easier. But if you fail, the next levels become painfully hard, and honestly, society might even give you a pretty tough time about it. Now, it's worth noting that different theorists draw this map a little differently. For instance, if we look at Santrock's theory, he outlines 8 stages. He actually includes a prenatal period, and he separates infancy from early childhood. On the flip side, Heavyhurst's theory gives us 6 stages. He doesn't include the prenatal period at all, and he kind of combines infancy and early childhood into one single block. But listen, the core concept is the exact same for both. We move through stages and we have specific work to do in every single one. Moving right along to Section 2, the early childhood levels, ages 0 to 5.
We are officially starting at level 1. I want you to look backward at how you and, well, everyone else in this room began your journey. Using Santrock stages, we see this incredible step-by-step physical and mental growth. Step 1 is the prenatal period, so conception to birth, where you go from literally a single cell to an incredibly complex organism with a brain. Step 2 is infancy, which is birth up to 18 to 24 months. This is a time of extreme dependence on adults. Your language and sensory motor coordination are just barely beginning. And then Step 3 is early childhood, stretching up to about 5 or 6 years old, right around grade 1. These are your preschool years where you learn to be a bit more self-sufficient, develop school readiness, and frankly spend hours just playing with your peers.
And this brilliantly illustrates what your actual quests were during those early years. Listen to Heavyhurst's verbatim tasks for ages 0 to 5. Learning to walk, learning to take solid foods, learning to talk, learning to control the elimination of body wastes, learning sex differences and sexual modesty, acquiring concepts and language to describe social and physical reality, readiness for reading, and learning to distinguish right from wrong and developing a conscience. It's totally wild to think about now, right? I mean, for you high schoolers today, getting solid food in your mouth and learning to walk without falling over were once your absolute biggest daily challenges. Which brings us to Section 3, middle childhood and school, ages 6 to 12. This era basically represents your elementary school years. It's a time when personal achievement really starts to become the central theme of your world. Let's quickly map it out. From age 6 in grade 1, straight through the mid-elementary years, up to being a preteen at age 12. As Santrock points out, this is the specific time when you are formally exposed to the larger world and its culture. You aren't just in your cozy little family bubble anymore. You're thrust into the school system. And because your world got bigger, your tasks definitely got harder. Heavyhurst's exact tasks for this stage are learning physical skills necessary for ordinary games, building a wholesome attitude toward oneself, learning to get along with age mates, learning an appropriate sex role, developing fundamental skills in reading, writing, and calculating, developing concepts necessary for everyday living, developing conscience, morality, and a scale of values, achieving personal independence, and developing acceptable attitudes towards society. Think back to recess. Mastering the rules of Foursquare, making friends on the playground, figuring out your basic math skills, these were the highly specific tasks you had to conquer to comfortably level up. All right, Section 4. Adolescence. Your current level, ages 13 to 18. Now everyone sit up and pay close attention because we have officially arrived at the level you are playing right now. These are the hurdles sitting right in front of you today. Let's read Havikhurst's adolescence tasks exactly as he wrote them. 1. Achieving mature relations with both sexes. 2. Achieving a masculine or feminine social role. 3. Accepting one's physique. 4. Achieving emotional independence of adults. 5. Preparing for marriage and family life. 6. Preparing for an economic career. 7. Acquiring values and an ethical system to guide behavior. 8. Desiring and achieving socially responsible behavior. Let's actually translate this to your real, day-to-day high school life. Task 4. Achieving emotional independence of adults. That means you are actively learning how to make your own choices and handle your own emotions, instead of just automatically expecting your parents to fix everything. And task 6 means you're starting to seriously think about what jobs will actually pay the bills someday. I want to just hit pause on the lesson for a second. Speak up or just reflect internally. Which of these tasks are you actively working on right now? Are you currently stressing over preparing for a career? Are you trying to figure out your own personal ethical system? You guys are right in the thick of this level right now. Sandrock really perfectly summarizes what you're experiencing. He states that adolescence involves rapid physical changes. We're talking dramatic gains in height and weight. It involves the heavy pursuit of independence and identity. And fascinatingly, your thought processes are actually becoming more logical, more abstract, and a lot more idealistic. You are spending significantly more time outside of the family, figuring out exactly who you are. Let's move ahead to Section 5, Early and Middle Adulthood, ages 19 to 60. Let's see how this all builds by looking at the levels you will be facing very, very soon after you graduate. Just look at the massive span of time we are covering here. Early adulthood stretches from age 19 to 29, and middle adulthood goes from 30 all the way to 60. This giant chunk of the timeline represents the vast majority of your future working and family lives. When you hit level 19, your entire objective shifts toward establishing personal and economic independence. Havikhurst's specific tasks for early adulthood are selecting a mate, learning to live with a partner, starting a family, rearing children, managing a home, starting an occupation, and assuming civic responsibility. Basically, this is the era of putting down roots and officially launching your independent life. Then, from ages 30 to 60, the game shifts once again toward assisting the next generation, meaning people my age are trying to help people your age. The tasks for middle adulthood are helping teenage children to become happy and responsible adults, achieving adult social and civic responsibility, satisfactory career achievement, developing adult leisure time activities, relating to one's spouse as a person, accepting the physiological changes of middle age, and adjusting to aging parent. Here, the focus is squarely on expanding social involvement and reaching true satisfaction in your career. And finally, Section 6, Late Adulthood and Beyond, ages 61 and over. These are the final endgame levels of human development. Visually, we are mapping the final years of life here, starting at age 61, moving through the huge transition of retirement, and going well into late adulthood. The priorities of this era shift drastically from the constant achievement mode of the earlier levels. So, the really crucial point here is that this stage is almost entirely about adaptation. Havikhurst calls this later maturity, and the exact tasks are adjusting to decreasing strength and health, adjusting to retirement and reduced income, adjusting to death of spouse, establishing relations with one's own age group, meeting social civic obligations, and establishing satisfactory living quarters. You aren't really building a career from scratch anymore. You are adapting to the very real physical and economic adjustments of aging. Sandrock gives a very poignant view of this final stage. He notes that late adulthood is a time for adjustment to decreasing strength and health, sure, but it is also a powerful time for life review, retirement, and adjustment to totally new social roles. It's a time to look back at the entire game of life you just played and reflect on the quests you've completed. Which leaves us with one final, incredibly important question drawn directly from the overview of our text. Now that you know the rules and you know the tasks, how can you help children, or even yourself, achieve these developmental tasks today? Whether you are actively trying to master your own adolescent quests of identity and independence right now, or you're thinking about how to help younger kids beat their current levels, understanding these stages gives you the ultimate cheat code to happiness and success. Keep working on those tasks, class, and I will see you all in our next explainer.